Okay, let's unpack this. You've shared some really interesting source material with us.
Yeah, it really zeroes in on, well, a core concept within the Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe.
Features and capabilities.
Oh, exactly.
And our mission for this deep dive, really, is to get under the hood and understand why these aren't just, jargon. Why
Mm-hmm.
they're absolutely critical for organizations using SAFe to actually, well, define, plan, and deliver value effectively.
It sort of reminds me, Linus Torvalds talking about Linux, how he mentioned its really good technical features and its unique capabilities.
Yeah.
He saw those as fundamental drivers, innovation, success. And in SAFe, features and capabilities, they serve a pretty similar purpose, I think.
Like the engine room.
Yeah, exactly. Translating that high-level vision into like executable work units, stuff that actually drives value delivery, drives innovation.
I like that analogy, the engine room. They sound like the real building blocks once you get past the big strategy picture.
Surely, yeah, right, are.
So, okay, over the next little while, let's try to nail down what features and capabilities actually are
Define them,
and
yeah.
dig into why they matter so much for delivering tangible value. Where do they fit in the whole safe picture?
The bigger context.
And crucially, I think, explore the real world side of it. The challenges, the processes for identifying them, defining them, managing them.
Absolutely. Going beyond just the textbook definition.
Right. What's the practical impact?
And what's fascinating, I find, is how these concepts, they aren't just about listing work items. It's not just a to-do list. No.
Well,
No, they provide this level of abstraction. It helps manage complexity, but you still maintain that focus on value.
oh,
They bridge that really critical gap, between the abstract strategic goals, the big epics maybe, and the concrete work that Agile teams are doing day to day.
okay, so let's jump right in then. What are features and capabilities in SAFe?
Yeah.
And crucially, where do they differ? Because that distinction, it feels pretty fundamental.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. Yeah. So at its simplest, a feature. Think of it as a service, maybe a function that delivers business value, addresses stakeholder needs.
Okay, value needs.
And importantly, it can be completed by a single agile release train, just one RT,
One RTM.
within one program increment, one PI.
Got it. One RR, one PI.
Yeah.
So it's contained, deliverable within that, well, relatively short time frame.
Exactly.
Contained.
So what about a capability then? How does that build on that or differ?
Right, so a capability is also a piece of solution functionality. Delivers value, still aimed for within a program increment.
Okay.
But the key difference, like you hinted, is scope. A capability spans multiple RTs.
Ah, okay. Multiple teams involved.
Correct. Capabilities are, higher level requirements. They often need to be broken down into multiple features.
Right.
And then each of those features gets implemented by a different RT potentially.
Okay, that makes sense. Features are art-specific, capabilities are cross-art, but both are targeted to deliver value within a PI.
So why? Why are they so important for value delivery and SAFe? Why this middle layer? Why not just use, I don't know, epics and stories?
Well, they're critical because they are the main way, the primary vehicles for defining meaningful chunks of value.
Meaningful chunks.
Yeah, at a level that's actually appropriate for planning and crucially coordination across teams, epics. They're often just too big, too vague for teams to work from directly.
Right, too high level.
And stories, while they define the day-to-day work, the nitty-gritty, they're too granular for that business level planning, too small to really understand the overall value flow within a PI.
Okay.
So features and capabilities, they provide that essential middle layer. It gives product management, solution management, the right level of detail to prioritize, to forecast, to communicate value.
While still letting teams work effectively.
Exactly, without getting bogged down or lost in the weeds.
So they provide that just right level of granularity for the PI, that specific context. They're not just tasks, they're units of planned value for that time frame.
Planned value delivery, yes.
And where do these crucial work items actually live? In the SAFe structure, I mean.
Right. They have specific homes, specific backlogs. Features live in the RT backlog.
RT backlog, managed by
Product management and capabilities. They live in the solution train backlog.
solution train backlog. Right?
Managed by solution management. And this placement, it's important. It reflects the level where decisions about them are made, how they're prioritized, how they're tracked.
So the backlog location basically signifies the ownership level and the coordination needed.
You got it. Ownership and coordination.
You mentioned the hierarchy earlier. How do features and capabilities fit into that bigger SAFe picture? connecting the strategy to the actual execution.
Yeah, the source material lays this out pretty clearly. You've got the portfolio level, right? That's where you have epics. Big strategic initiatives.
Big rocks.
Yeah, the big rocks. These epics, they often drive the creation of capabilities down at the large solution level or features at the program level. Now, capabilities, because they span multiple RTs, they have to be decomposed into features.
Right, broken down.
Broken down so individual RTs can implement them. And then features, whether they came from epics or capabilities, or maybe they're just local to an RT, they get broken down further into stories and maybe enablers at the team level. That's the stuff teams execute sprint by sprint.
It really is that cascade, isn't it? From the big kind of abstract strategy down through these layers to the actual executable work item.
Exactly, a flow down.
And features and capabilities are smack bang in the middle, making that connection concrete.
They make it tangible for planning purposes.
Okay, let's drill into how features are defined then. The source mentioned a specific format.
It did, yes. Features are typically defined using what's called a feature-benefit hypothesis format.
Feature-benefit hypothesis.
Yeah, and this is key, I think. It moves beyond just describing the functionality, the what's,
right,
to explicitly stating the expected value, the why, and, crucially, how you'd measure it. That's the benefit hypothesis.
Can you give an example?
Sure, like in-service software update. Okay, that's a technical description.
Right, the what?
But adding the hypothesis like, this will result in significantly reduced planned downtime for customers. Now it's clear why this feature matters, what outcome you expect.
That's a really important distinction. Focusing on the benefit and making it a hypothesis, something you need to check, to validate.
Exactly. It frames it as something to be tested.
It's not just about building the thing, but verifying it actually delivers the intended value.
Precisely. And alongside that hypothesis, features need clear acceptance criteria.
Okay.
These define the boundaries. What must be true for this feature to be considered complete, correct?
Yeah.
They help validate that hypothesis.
And who defines those?
Product management. They're responsible, often working really closely with product owners, maybe key stakeholders too, making sure that focus stays on value and validation, not getting lost in, low-level technical details at this stage.
All right, keep it at the feature level. And prioritizing them. That's where WSGF comes in, right? Weighted shortest job first for features.
Yes, exactly. Within an RD backlog, features are prioritized using WSJF. It's SAFe's economic model, essentially.
Economic model.
Yeah, for sequencing work to get maximum flow, maximum value delivery based on cost of delay and job size. Applying WSJF to features helps ensure the RT focuses its effort on the work expected to deliver the most economic benefit the soonest.
Okay, so features, defined with a benefit hypothesis, acceptance criteria, prioritized with WSJF, managed through the RKey Kanban system to visualize their flow.
That's the life cycle, yeah.
Now, capabilities, you said similar, but bigger. Span multiple RTs, live in the solution train backlog, need acceptance from solution management.
Correct. Higher level, broader scope.
Given that they are larger and span teams, they must need breaking down, right? That sounds like where a lot of the coordination challenge really hits.
Absolutely. That's a critical point. Capabilities, by definition, are too large, too complex for a single RT.
So they have to be decomposed.
They must be decomposed into features. Features that can be implemented by individual RTs. And this decomposition, this splitting, that's where the complexity of coordinating across multiple teams really becomes, very apparent.
This feels like a really crucial point where the theory meets the messy reality.
It really is.
It's not just drawing boxes on a diagram. It's figuring out how you actually slice this big piece of functionality across different teams who might, work quite independently day to day.
How do you carve it up logically?
How do organizations even approach that? Splitting these complex capabilities into manageable features.
Well, the source material outlines various splitting patterns, different techniques for breaking down capabilities.
Patterns like what?
Things like maybe splitting by steps in a workflow, or separating out the business rules, sometimes dividing the effort, though that can be a bit risky. Well, just splitting effort doesn't guarantee value delivery per chunk. Other patterns include isolating simple parts from complex ones, handling different variations in data streams separately, maybe deferring less critical quality attributes, or focusing on operational concerns as distinct features.
Wow, okay. It sounds like choosing the right pattern is almost an art form.
Yeah.
Depends heavily on the nature of the capability itself.
It really does. There's judgment involved.
But what happens if you get the splitting wrong? This seems like a major, major source of potential problems.
Oh, it absolutely is. A huge risk area. Poor splitting. It can lead to features that are still way too big for an Archie to handle in a PI.
Right. Still unmanageable.
Or, maybe worse, features that aren't truly value independent for that RT. They build something, but it doesn't deliver value on its own.
Ah, okay. Creates integration bottlenecks later.
Exactly. Or, worst of all, maybe it hides or complicates the dependencies between the RTs.
Right. Makes coordination harder, not easier.
Precisely. So effective splitting isn't just about making things smaller. It actually forces the identification and the clarification of those cross-art dependencies.
Ah. So the act of splitting reveals the dependencies.
It should, if done well, and that clarity is absolutely crucial for successful PI planning and execution, especially at the solution train level.
Right, where multiple RTs need to sync up.
Yeah, ensuring that multiple RTs can actually work together in a synchronized way to deliver the complete capability within that program increment. Without that clear feature decomposition and mapping out the dependencies, a capability can just descend into, well, a chaotic mess of uncoordinated work. Nobody knows who needs what from whom or when.
That makes perfect sense. So the splitting process itself isn't just task breakdown. It's fundamentally dependency discovery and management exercise.
A critical one, yes.
And enablers.
Yeah.
They must play a big role here too, right? Especially for that cross-art coordination needed by capabilities.
They certainly do, yeah. Remember, enablers represent the technical work, the stuff needed to support future business functionality.
Like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Or exploring architectures.
Exactly. Building infrastructure, exploring alternatives, maybe architectural runway, upgrading components, that kind of thing. For capabilities that span RTs, enablers are often critical.
How so?
They lay the necessary technical groundwork across those teams. Or they address cross-cutting technical concerns. They basically make the underlying technical dependencies visible and manageable right alongside the business features.
So you plan for the technical foundation work explicitly.
You have to, especially when multiple RTs are involved.
Okay, so circling back then, features and capabilities. They really are the backbone of planning and delivery and SACE once you're sort of below that high-level epic view.
They absolutely are, the core planning artifacts at that level.
Features contained within one RT, capabilities spanning multiple RTs.
Both aimed at delivering value within a PI.
And serving as that essential middle layer, connecting the strategic epics to the executable stories and enablers that the teams work on.
They truly are the workhorses. They translate that strategic intent into concrete, manageable units that Agile teams can actually implement.
Right.
So getting the definition right, the prioritization right, the management of features and capabilities, it's paramount for an organization to reliably deliver value and coordinate effectively, especially when you've got multiple teams working on a large solution.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought then for you, the listener,
Yeah.
to consider. Given how critical defining features and capabilities clearly is, not just for planning, but like we said, for revealing and managing the dependencies you need for coordination across ATs, particularly when splitting those complex capabilities.
Yeah, that splitting part is key.
How does an organization truly ensure that the right things are being defined and prioritized, using these concepts, beyond just ticking the boxes and following the process?
How do they ensure real value focus?
Exactly. How do they make sure they're focusing on delivering the most valuable outcomes and not just, organizing tasks effectively?
Yeah.
And maybe related to that, how does the inherent difficulty, the potential pitfalls of splitting capabilities badly, how does that ultimately impact the actual delivery of value at the end of the PI?
That's a really good question, something to definitely think about.